Hello, fair intrepid viewer, it's me again. I know. Anyway, I like to get down to business and introduce you to Halloween Eve. This is a one-off special by Montclair and Amy Reeder. R-E-E-D-E-R. Reeder. Well, this story follows a girl named Eve, the title character, of course. And Eve works at a Halloween shop or a costume shop or something of the like. And she's very, she's a bit of a workaholic. She's very busy. And she has this colorful cast of characters around her. Basically, these are all her friends and people she knows that hang out at the costume shop this one day. We get very little backstory, but we do get some characterization. We see her basically wanting to go to a costume party, but is reluctant because of her self-esteem issues. And so then we get into a fantastic Wonderland down the rabbit hole sort of experience where she, I'm guessing, either dreams or hallucinates. I'm not sure which, or it's actually happening. I don't know. Point is that she sees a bunch of stuff about, she's lectured basically non-stop throughout this entire thing about masks and truth and being true to yourself, and at the end she finally decides it's better to be myself than it is to wear a mask, because some people, I myself included at times, especially when I go to conventions, feel that I am just too exposed, like my expressions and feelings are just too exposed, and you gotta, like, put a mask on just to feel normal amongst a lot of these people, you know. They don't see too much of you. Otherwise, they won't like what they see. I understand that feeling immensely well. Doesn't really help, does it? Anyway, so I understand her quite a bit. The fantasy element I not entirely understood as more of just another, they wanted to do Alice in Wonderland, which feels incredibly forced like it did back in the original animated featurette by Disney. And then again by Tiny Toons. And everything else that says, let's learn a lesson through forced storyline, i.e. Oz. Yeah, I know. Every other TV show that's ever done it just wants to force in that concept and hammer it home because gotta teach those kids something. Anyway, by the end, she likes herself. She goes out with the village idiot, or whatever, how she keeps referring to him as the idiot or fool or whatever, or the dummy. And so it can be a bit preachy, but it does send a good positive message about liking oneself and not to be afraid to go without a mask. Mine this year is only going to be non-makeup because, well, as you'll see this year, I'm going to go as Stefani from Steven Universe. So I gotta really work on my tan. Anyway, so yeah, Halloween Eve is pretty good. I sort of recommend it for people with self-esteem issues. Maybe they might learn something. But of course, it's a very easy concept, so I don't really understand it. Why it needs to be hammered home so hard. I just recently read, I just wanted to talk about this because this review would be too damn short if it was just about this. But I read a very, well, it's not very interesting, but I read another Halloween fantasy-based story online. I'm not going to tell you which website it's on. You have to figure that out for yourselves. basically called Halloween something or other, special or surprise or Halloween Wish, I believe that's what it was. And it's about this girl. It's basically a wish fulfillment, is what it was. It's on the erotic side. Okay, it's not on the erotic side. It is erotic, just so you know. And it's this girl who's incredibly plain, and she wishes she was someone else. Basically, a sexier anyone else. And then she gets a magic flyer on her windshield of her car. She takes it home, reads it, and says, "On Halloween, your wish will be fulfilled." That's it. She wakes up next morning, she is a sex bomb. Somehow. Yeah, I know, it's the most weird wish fulfillment ever. Anyway, so now she's this incredibly sexed out goddess. She goes to work. Luckily, she works in the back room, so no one really sees her. Her boss is saying, "How the hell is that possible? You didn't have time to have work between yesterday and today." She says, "I just woke up like this," and her boss just takes it as such because she's just so damn beautiful. She says, "I'm going to have this party. I'm going to invite you." Because now she's more sexier than the boss, apparently. And the boss wanted to invite her to the party instead of being jealous. And so she takes her Halloween shopping. They find a costume that's incredibly inappropriate for any type of occasion. And some sort of skimpy fox outfit. So they go to her house. They meet her brother, who immediately starts to, in all words of description, basically molest her. But she welcomes the attention because he's incredibly hot. They eventually go at it, blah blah blah, and it leaves off on a cliffhanger, and that's the end of the story for now, until the creator bothers to write some more about it. Now, why did I bring this up, you ask? Well, basically, they're more or less on par. This story and the story I've just told you. They're both wish fulfillment types of stories. Halloween Eve is basically a wish fulfillment that is hammered home on a character who needs to understand that concept, as opposed to Halloween Wish, which is more something they verbally want to actually happen, or will to actually happen. She wants to be somebody else. As opposed to Halloween Eve, that kind of more comes off as, "I wish I could have, but I'm way too goddamn scared to actually go out and do it." Which she's totally capable of. Everyone likes her the way she is. She's not undersexed. Apparently she's, well, likable in her little community or whatever. So she has nothing to feel inferior about. It's her character she feels insecure about, as opposed to Halloween Wish, where the character says, "I'm physically inferior. I'm not sexy at all." So both these stories just seem to have a heavy wish fulfillment on them, which drags them down. It drags them both down as interesting stories. You know, there's character development only at the end of all this. Well, more character development in this than the other one. More is just that she just wants to feel sexy for once in her life. It's not exactly character development. That's just she finally gets laid by the hot guy. That's it. So both of these stories are not really recommendable 100%. Because they're limited by the message they're trying to send, rather than just being a straight-up story of how a character go through something they actually create themselves. You know, rather than relying on fantasy in order to actually happen, something fanciful which is entirely impossible to actually happen to them, for them to actually go through something, rather than them going through something themselves. You know, they create it, or the world gives to them, rather than something fanciful happening to them. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's, both stories are kind of okay if you want a Halloween themed erotical written porn. okay. It's well written. It's missing a few words here and there. Granted, this guy can still write better than me. Well, spell-wise, anyway. Creativity, that's a different story. I'm a master at that. Anyway, do I recommend Eve to people? Sort of, but not really. It's interesting as a concept, really, to see if more than anything else to recommend. Decent artwork. Her being Dorothy Gale in the end, dressing up as Dorothy Gale, I don't really understand too much significance of that, other than she went to a goofy world and then came back. And they did the Oz reference again. Like, you were there, and you were there, and you were there. That's about it. Honestly, she could have been dressed up as anything else, and it still wouldn't have made that much of a difference. So, that's about it. So, until next time, take care, and as always, see you on the other side of the screen.